We've gathered 3 tomato sauce experts to blind taste test every brand of tomato sauce we could get our hands on to see which ones meet their standards. Because eating these sauces cold would be miserable, we heated them all up. Ragú, old world style marinara sauce.
It looks super smooth, almost like a baby food to me. Like it came from a puree or from tomato paste. The color's great.
It's really dark red. It's really dense.
This actually smells pretty good.
It kind of smells like a pizza sauce to me, which means usually it's cooked for a fairly long time. It has a little more oregano in it.
I don't see any visible herbs in here. It's a very basic tomato sauce.
What I look for in tomato sauce, I want it to be tomato forward. It's a tomato sauce, so it should taste like tomatoes.
The tomato should be the star of the show, not the herbs, not the spices, not any sugar or salt or anything else. It's tomato sauce.
The balance with the acidity and the sweetness, something in the middle.
You don't want it to be like super acidity, like you're drinking or eating a lemon. You also don't want it to be too sweet. You don't want to put like frosting on your spaghetti.
While we want it to be well seasoned, we don't want it to be overly seasoned with herbs and spices.
Having too many flavors in there detracts from that tomato flavor.
And finally, we're looking for texture.
The chunk of the tomato and the smooth of the sauce.
We want it to be velvety. It should coat your mouth in the most wonderful way. That is not a bad tomato sauce. It tastes like a tomato.
The acidity and the sweetness is really almost 50-50.
They added some sugar to it, so it's a little on the sweet side for me.
This is well seasoned. It's not overly garlicky, not overly oregano or basil. Salt is perfectly balanced.
Texture is good.
It's kind of jammy.
Like a baby food or a tomato puree texture to me.
I like that.
Probably not using the best quality tomatoes, so they want to puree it up. This seems to be a Prego type sauce.
Old style marinara sauce, Ragú.
I didn't hate this. I would eat this.
Marinara is basically a quick cooked sauce, simple ingredients. Tomatoes, olive oil, some aromatics like onions or garlic, and maybe some basil. This one doesn't really hit the bill. It should be brighter, fresher, not as reduced, a little chunkier.
In Italy, we don't say marinara sauce. We say tomato sauce.
The first ingredient in this is tomato puree. Tomato puree isn't necessarily an inferior product. It's just a way for companies to get sauce in a jar quicker.
So typically tomato canneries, they take truckloads of tomatoes and the absolute best tomatoes of that batch go into their flagship products, which is a whole peeled tomato. The ones that aren't the best of the best get ground up into tomato puree or tomato sauces, and the worst of the worst get packaged as tomato paste. For a product that you're going to eat a lot of, like this, marinara sauce, we want whole peeled tomatoes.
They add sugar here because the quality of the tomato they use it is not a lot sweet.
So this brand is really made for the masses. Consistent, reliable, not offensive in any way to anybody.
And I try not to frown on that. It's just not my cup of tea.
Not so bad.
I'm very disappointed in myself and how much I liked the Ragú.
Classico, marinara pasta sauce with plum tomatoes and olive oil.
It's a little paler red.
This one is less puree.
Look at that. Whole chunks of tomatoes, which some people like, some people do not like.
There's little flecks of herbs in there.
Maybe they have garlic in this case because I can smell right away.
It's mildly tomato forward.
Really high acid. This will give me heartburn.
The saltiness is great, but the herbs really kick in there.
I think the tomato that they're using in this marinara is really cheap or doesn't have any taste, the tomato. So they need to put more garlic and oregano to just taste that.
Dry herbs are super powerful and potent. Once it goes through the process of canning, some of those flavors get muted and dulled, so they tend to add more of those things. And in this case, I feel like it's a little more overpowering.
Definitely tastes like there's diced tomatoes in here. It's firm and it really holds up.
Generally, sauces like this will use a plum tomato.
The oblong shape actually aids in the harvesting process. The tomatoes run up this conveyor belt and the oblong shape actually prevents them from rolling off of this conveyor belt.
They have less water, thinner skins, less seeds.
It gives us a higher flesh to water ratio. We want that tomato meat.
I really don't like it, this one.
Classico.
Marinara with plum tomato and olive oil. But you can see right away, they put dry garlic, spicy. This is why I taste a lot garlic.
There's like 20 ingredients in this, so I automatically know they're not using high quality tomatoes. They have to cover up the deficiency in deliciousness.
They put olive oil on the label to like draw you in, but it's less than 2%.
Yeah, there's some diced plum tomatoes, but it's not the first ingredient, number one. And they're treated with calcium chloride, so they're really never going to break down. The texture's just off, and it's not a great mouthfeel.
That tomato puree, chances are it's not made with plum tomatoes. It's made with whatever tomatoes the factory gets.
But it's branded like it's whole world Italian food.
I'm sorry. This one, like, no.
I don't like it.
Great value marinara pasta sauce.
Bright red, simple.
It's lighter on the herbs, but you can see some onion in there.
You can definitely see a little bit of oil separation. I like that. I have high hopes.
This is really fresh.
I don't hate it.
It tastes tomatoey, but you do get a nice hit of basil.
The balance of the acidity and the sugar are equal.
The balance of the herbs is really nice in this. Not overly oregano, not overly garlicky.
Seasoning is perfect.
The texture is pleasant. Most of it is a puree. They threw in a couple of chunks. Firm. Calcium chloride. Doesn't need to be in there.
I think this is my favorite.
It's got a lot of the characteristics of a higher end brand. Maybe a Rienzi or maybe a Pastena.
I think this is just a basic tomato sauce. Great value marinara sauce.
This is a Walmart store brand.
Oh, wow.
I'm not gonna lie, I think this actually is a pretty good value. For $1.67, you're not gonna get a fresh tomato flavor. You're not gonna get a high quality tomato. But the formulation is actually not that bad.
Tomato puree, diced tomato in tomato juice, canola oil. Wow.
They're using dehydrated onions and garlic and spices. They're using a little citric acid and dehydrated parsley. They're using a lot of the things that I said might not be best, but for some reason they nailed it.
Somebody actually cared about how much garlic is in there, how much of the herbs is in there. It's meant to feed a lot of people for a very inexpensive cost.
I am blown away that this is as good as it is.
Walmart, great job.
Rayo's homemade marinara sauce.
Looks a touch orange.
Really thick.
It looks like a natural chunk. It doesn't look like there's any diced tomatoes in here.
It's good consistency, but it's really oily.
I'm definitely tasting more tomato than the actual seasonings and flavorings in this.
The acid is way too high, so the balance is just way off.
If you look at the edge of the bowl, that actually looks like there's a little oil in there.
It doesn't taste like it's very high quality, but it's there. And this is not well seasoned. There's way too much black pepper, way too much salt.
Texture is good.
The chunkiness is really nice on this.
Not my favorite.
Lower quality.
I'm gonna guess this might be an Italian brand like Bertolli. Oh my gosh, it's Rayo's.
They're gonna be killing me. I'm surprised because, it's really famous.
Rayo's is supposed to be like the golden child of tomato sauces in a jar.
It's a famous institution restaurant here in New York City.
Great family, great restaurant. This version of the sauce is not my favorite. 8 ingredients, which I love. Italian whole peeled tomatoes.
So if the tomato usually is coming from Italy, it's more sweet than acid. I taste like a blend taste of tomato.
They're really not that high quality.
The second ingredient in this is olive oil, and you can see it.
Not extra virgin olive oil. There's a bunch of different grades of olive oil. I'm a big believer in only using extra virgin olive oil.
I hope to go really soon to try inside the restaurant, but I'm not really impressed on the jar one.
Prego marinara sauce.
This sauce looks like it has a little more liquid to it.
So more puree.
It's kind of like weirdly translucent.
That smells like a zesty one. That is a terrible tomato.
It's almost like a metallic taste in the back of your tongue.
No.
This tomato has some defects to it.
Kind of like a chemically flavor.
It's more acidity than the sweet.
The herbs are definitely covering up for how bad the tomatoes are.
It's really watering. This oil doesn't have a lot of flavor.
Not my favorite at all. It's something red to put on pasta. This is Prego.
Prego!
Prego means you're welcome in Italian. This is something, the sauce that I will not say prego.
Starts out with tomato puree.
In tomatoes juice. This is really the big, what I feel that this one is really watering.
Canola oil, which I'm not surprised about. It's a neutral oil, cheap product, real cheap.
If they used fresh onions and garlic and cooked it in the oil, canola oil would carry those flavors into the sauce, whereas they're using garlic powder and onion powder. So they're not using the oil as a carrier of flavor. They're just using it as maybe bulk or mouthfeel. And canola oil really just doesn't really do much for flavor. Less than 1% of dried onions, dried garlic.
Spicy, citrus, and basil. So everything dry, not fresh.
There's not necessarily anything wrong with dried spices.
Fresh herbs are delicate. They go bad quickly. Dried herbs are super shelf stable.
It makes the production process a lot faster and more inexpensive.
The Prego doesn't have sugar in it, and usually that's the crutch of sauces like this.
You know, tomatoes are so naturally sweet that if you just take a tomato puree and cook it longer, all that water evaporates, you get a higher sugar content product.
It has a market, but it's kind of the bare minimum of tomato sauce.
I don't think I'm gonna be buy this one anytime soon.
Prego. You're welcome.
Carbone Marinara.
You look on the edge here, you can see that it actually has some oil.
Which is not a bad thing.
It always makes me kind of think of the sauce as a little bit better.
A lot of herbs.
This is definitely a little chunkier or home style. You can see onions, garlic, chunks of tomatoes.
I see real pieces of onion. That's interesting.
You taste a little bit more the tomato.
So far, this is the best balance in acidity that we've had. It has some good seasoning.
With the amount of onion and garlic in here, this might be homemade. They fooled me.
I like the consistency because it's not just puree.
The texture is more like a marinara.
Like this consistency means they're using fresh tomato.
It's gonna hold on to that pasta, but it also isn't so thick and so like jammy. It has a little flow to it.
I think they're using fresh ingredients because there you can see a piece of basil.
This is probably the best sauce we've tasted so far.
I'd be very surprised if this is out of a jar. And if it is, like, they're doing good work. Carbone.
So Carbone is a restaurant in Manhattan, and it's kind of a red sauce joint.
They have a sauce line, not dissimilar from Rayo's, but by far a much better product.
Onions, olive oil, garlic, and there's no preservatives in here, no citric acid. And that kind of really shines through. I think the texture of it is closer to a marinara.
Imported Italian tomatoes.
Italian tomato are more sweet. So this is why I don't taste a lot of acidity.
It all depends on the process you use, the supporting ingredients you use.
And they use fresh ingredients.
So this definitely has some really good branding. And I think as far as jarred sauces go, it stands up to its reputation, right?
I really like it.
They fooled me. I thought this was a homemade sauce.
Good and Gather Organic Marinara Pasta Sauce.
It has that brownish, rusty, orangey thing.
More puree part.
A lot of herbs.
Oregano, garlic.
Doesn't look like it's going to be a good one. So bad.
It has a little bit of tomato flavor, but it's kind of flat.
Tastes fake. Tastes way too acidic.
Sweet, 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 sweet. So much sweet.
You can see herbs, you can see garlic. I'm not tasting it.
Texture is, I don't like it because it's more puree.
It has a little of that baby food texture with some chunks in it, but the chunks are just there for visual like effect, less than flavor. They haven't done too much to it, so it might be like an organic sauce.
The worst one that I've tasted all day.
Good and Gather.
Organic marinara pasta sauce.
Good and Gather is a Target brand, so you can get this at probably every Target in the country, and you should not.
It's non-GMO and it is organic.
But it doesn't make it delicious, unfortunately.
They don't add any sugar, but when I taste, it's so sweet. Maybe the type of the tomato they use it.
These are really, really bad tomatoes. I would never buy this again if I bought it one time.
365 by Whole Foods Organic Marinara Pasta Sauce.
So we have more orange-ish sauce.
It looks more like a salsa than a marinara sauce.
Smell like garlic,
So it's not super tomato forward. I taste herbs first.
What you feel over here is just the garlic.
Tons of oregano, probably other spices in there too. A lot of acid, no sweetness.
I like the texture.
Really watery.
It's definitely going to have tomato puree as its first ingredient. I would be shocked if it wasn't. But this has a lot more chunkiness to it.
I think this is Whole Foods 365 organic, extra zesty tomato sauce. Hi-yo!
So
I was right.
365 Whole Foods Market, Marinara.
And it's their organic one too.
it has extra virgin olive oil, is no sugar added, right? And it's a marinara sauce. I think that it's closer than a lot of the other ones to that texture of a marinara sauce.
Organic garlic puree is probably a shelf-stable processed form of garlic, and it's probably a step up compared to dried garlic.
I really like it.
This is certainly not my favorite.
Bertolli, traditional marinara sauce.
There's a little bit of that kind of oil staining on the sides.
Also looks more like salsa. This tastes like a tomato soup you might get on an airplane in 1992.
You don't taste a lot the tomato.
It's not about the tomato. It's about covering up how bad the tomatoes are.
This is really acid.
Even though there's big chunks of herbs in there, it's more for looks. It has looked like a little bit of oil.
It's more watery.
I don't like the color. I don't like the flavor. I don't like the texture.
Oh, Bertolli.
Bertolli doesn't say where they come from, the tomato.
So their tomato puree is water and tomato paste. That means their number one ingredient was tomato paste, which is bottom of the barrel tomato product mixed with water to thin it out into what's considered a puree. Tomato paste is one of my favorite ingredients to cook with, but not when you want to make a marinara sauce.
So this sauce, as with a lot of the sauces we've seen today, uses citric acid.
It's help to maintain the color of the tomato.
Any jarred tomato product needs to be a certain amount of acidity. The pH has to be below 4.6, which is pretty acidic, in order to prevent botulism. If the tomato cannery gets very ripe tomatoes that are perfect, they're not going to be below that threshold. So they use citric acid.
Not for me.
This would take a little bit of work to make it good.
Bertolli, call me. We'll make this product better.
Barilla, marinara sauce.
This is definitely cooked at a lower temperature.
Red color, so no orange.
It has the right texture for a marinara where it's not too reduced.
The tomato is not in the center of this marinara sauce. Like it's sweet.
It's overloaded with garlic and oregano.
The texture of the sauce is really, really kind of nice. It's not too liquidy. It's not too like dense or firm. I'm gonna say Trader Joe's.
Trader Joe's basic marinara sauce.
Oh, this is the Barilla.
Barilla.
Italian brand pasta, Italian brand sauce. When it comes to the jarred sauces, always heat them up, bring them to a gentle simmer. If you're in a pinch, take the lid off, throw it in the microwave. You don't want to just take cold sauce and put it on your pasta.
When something cold is like doesn't have a lot of flavor.
One thing that you're always taught as a chef is that the sauce waits for the pasta.
Really cook that pasta, finish cooking it to al dente in the pan so that the sauce has time to really be absorbed by the pasta.
You don't throw away the water that you boil the pasta.
You want every noodle to be coated and married with that sauce. So one of the ways that we control moisture and change viscosity is by loosening it up with a little bit of pasta water. Natural flavor is nothing. Natural flavors are plant or animal derived products that are made in a laboratory. And there's very little regulation on what it actually is. They belong in perfumes, not in food.
As far as jarred sauce goes, I think this is kind of mid-range.
This is the made for everyone, I think, but not for me.
Yeah, don't buy it. This one's terrible.
Newman's own marinara pasta sauce.
What do we got here? More tomato sauce.
It's more dense, puree.
It's a little more reduced than the past two sauces we tried.
A lot of herbs, smooth texture.
It's kind of a medium tomato flavor.
It's not right in the center, but almost.
Better balance of sweetness and acidity.
I think that it could use a little more on the herb side.
I'm not really a fan of this texture.
It's not like heavy on the chunks. It's just there visually for a visual appeal.
Tastes like they're using the scraps of something else.
Oh, is this Paul Newman?
Newman's Best? Is that what it is?
Yep, it is Newman's own.
Not Newman's Best.
How do you hate on Paul Newman, right? Like, he was great. He gave to a lot of charities.
On 100% profit help kids.
How do you hate that? As far as tomato sauces go, like, it's okay. Italian-style herbs, like, I don't know, like, what does that even mean?
Extra virgin olive oil is the third ingredient. That's good. I can't taste any of it, though.
Carrot puree.
I've never seen carrot puree on a jar of tomato sauce.
Carrots have a ton of sugar in them.
So this is why it's really sweet.
If you just buy a really good tomato, you actually don't even need to add the carrot or anything else because they're naturally so sweet.
I don't want to bash on Paul Newman. I can't. But, you know, a little less carrots, a little more sauce.
It's like not really bad.
Trader Joe's Tomato Basil Marinara Sauce.
The color I like, really dark red.
Come on, that's some chipotle red salsa.
I can see chunks of vegetables, chunks of herbs.
Tomato is in the center.
So it's a little on the tinny side or metallic side.
The flavor of sweet and acid are really strong. I can taste basil on this one.
But if it is, it's definitely dried basil, not fresh basil. A lot of herbs covering up the fact that these are really bad tomatoes.
I don't think it's olive oil if there is oil in this.
This one's pretty bad. I would use this as an ingredient in cooking if I absolutely had to.
Trader Joe's.
This is probably Trader Joe's salsa.
Oh, Trader Joe. Tomato basil marinara sauce.
Putting basil on the label, it needs to be a little more basil forward. I taste herbs, but I'm not like, oh my gosh, there's basil.
They're using dried basil here.
Try and use fresh herbs if you can, especially if you're going to say it's a tomato basil. There should be some basil leaves in there.
Basil is so volatile. If it's not stored properly, if it's not handled properly, it immediately goes bad.
I prefer to use the basil almost in the end.
So it's still going to get cooked, but you're going to get that nice hit of fresh basil.
And then when I'm serving the dish that I'm preparing with it, I might sprinkle a little bit of fresh basil on right before a guest enjoys the plate of food.
Not the best one we had today, but pretty good.
I like the taste. I like the consistency.
Not when you use dried basil. No bueno.
Mutti Marinara Pasta Sauce.
This looks homemade.
Red, orange color, a lot oily.
So I get it. Tomatoes have skins, so inevitably there might be a tomato skin or two, but this is like, at least we know that there's fresh tomatoes in here.
No, this is not for me. The garlic dominates all the flavor in this tomato sauce.
Acidity, very mild.
It's too acidic.
The acid sweetness balance is spot on. This is well seasoned. The texture is the best part of this sauce. The viscosity is incredible. I think this is a home style sauce.
This feels like a mid to high tier just for the fact that it has some oil in it. I'm going to say Victoria.
Mutti.
Mutti is an Italian tomato brand.
I used before, but never marinara.
Good job, guys. They had me fooled on this one. The tomatoes are good. Everything was in balance. This is by far the closest thing to homemade tasting sauce.
Yeah, they're using olive oil. There is an actual oil separation.
Tomatoes are 90% water, and water and oil don't mix. You'll see the oil start to float on the top. That's not a bad thing. They're not meant to be completely emulsified for long-term shelf stability. All you do is heat it up in a pan, add a little bit of your pasta cooking water, swirl it around, and the emulsion is back, and it's going to be better than ever.
Oil carries flavors, especially from aromatics, especially from herbs. Chopped tomatoes first, and then Rosauro tomato puree second.
Rosauro tomato is a tomato that they grew up in Tuscany.
Same kind of profile as the San Marzano tomatoes, just from a different region.
The color is phenomenal on that.
When I go in Italy and I use, some product are totally different. Mutti or other brand, Barilla, Bertolli, create some recipe just for American palate.
This is a premium quality tomato sauce, and it shows.
I'm sorry, I don't like your marinara, Mutti.
I do think it could have some more tomato flavor.
These are really good ingredients on this ingredient list, and the proof is in the product.
Your mama's original marinara.
Brown, rusty red.
I can smell tomato, and I do see a little bit of oil.
It does not look appealing. It does not look remotely like a tomato. That's mildly offensive.
I don't taste the real tomato.
That just tastes fake. The only thing I taste is oregano and garlic.
It's kind of really flat in the mouth. It could definitely use a lot of salt.
Too much oil, water also because it's puree.
The texture is not pleasant.
Needs a little more like chunks to it, especially if it's going to be a marinara.
There's no redeeming qualities.
Your mama's tomato sauce. I've never actually heard of this one.
This just makes me sad. I'm sorry, guys.
Tomato sauce, marinara, fresh ingredients, premium, no added sugars. With love, your mama.
My mama might smack me if I gave her this sauce.
Fresh tomatoes.
I'm not sure the fresh tomatoes are doing them a great service here.
And a lot of that probably has to do with they're using fresh tomatoes that are not in season.
Canned tends to be more reliable, more predictable at the end of the day.
So it's a low in sodium.
Sodium is one of those things, or salt is one of the things that make your food taste good. So unless they are high blood pressure, I think that they need a little more salt in this.
Victoria Marinara sauce.
This looks promising.
Really good smell.
Texture looks nice.
More of that kind of like puree with small chunks in it.
Really good. Tomato in the center.
I wouldn't say it's in balance by any means.
I'd say it's more on the sweet side.
You don't taste any garlic, any onion, but good. Good taste.
I love the texture.
It have more body structure.
This one might be the Victoria. That's the only one I have left in my brain. This is the Victoria brand, okay?
Where ingredients come first.
You go into Italian shops, you see this.
100% imported Italian tomato.
From where in Italy, though?
There's no getting around the fact that these tomatoes are not very high quality, but I think the process that they're going through is actually a very high quality process because the texture is phenomenal. Just the quality of the tomatoes is not that great. 7 ingredients.
No preservatives, no water, no paste, which is also really good.
It seems like this is a very well executed sauce. The only missing piece is a higher quality tomato and a higher quality olive oil.
I will buy this one. One of my favorite.
Cravings spicy Thai basil marinara sauce.
Texture looks nice. It's glistening. It's glossy. It's velvety.
I can see right away the basil.
Which, again, tends to be an indicator that we're getting a sauce that's a little bit better, but who knows?
I tasted really deliciousness up front, and then in the back, acid and heat.
This one has a decent tomato flavor.
It tastes like fresh basil.
Spicy and CDD. It's too strong.
I can't really taste much after the heat kicks in.
I don't think the marinara need to be spicy.
I like spicy food, so I'm not mad at it. I was not expecting spicy tomato sauce right now.
The tomato need to be the star, the king of the sauce. In this case, it's not the king.
Heat's covering up the tomato a little bit too much, but it's pretty good. I'd eat this.
Consistency is good. It's not really puree.
It has some of the markers of what people might charge a lot of money for.
A little bit of heat's great, and this is probably marketed towards that. They wouldn't just call this marinara sauce. It's probably spicy something. Cravings by Chrissy Teigen.
Oh my gosh.
This ain't bad.
Spicy Thai basil marinara.
Thai basil and Italian basil are two like completely different flavor profiles.
It's more spicy, it's more bitter.
Has more of that fennel or that licorice flavor to it.
This is the first time we're seeing tomato pulp on a label, which I think is really interesting. It's one of the things I commented about is the texture. The viscosity is incredible. It's shiny. It's an ingredient that you see in both Italy and in Spain, but you don't really see that in the United States at all.
It's different marinara. This is, you remember this marinara.
For what this is, which is a spicy Thai basil marinara, it's very well produced.
If that is what she wants, be spicy, she created this perfect spicy marinara. Perfect marinara for her.
I wouldn't normally go out of my way to buy a product like this, but I'm glad I tasted it and respect.
Now let's see which tomato sauces our experts liked the most and the least.
My favorite out of all of them was Carbone, the best tomato flavor. It was well-rounded, it had some oil in it.
Texture was great, the balance was great.
It hit a lot of the hallmarks of what I would consider a good jarred sauce.
I thought they tricked me into thinking that was homemade.
I also, surprisingly enough, enjoyed the great value.
The ingredients are fresh, tomato are in the center.
It was kind of nicely balanced. I'm shocked as you are.
I really appreciate the Cravings with the spicy Thai basil.
Thought that was phenomenal.
They use fresh ingredients, they use good ingredients.
Texture was extraordinary.
For the spicy people, they love spicy. I think that is perfect.
The clear winner for me was the Mutti. It was real ingredients. Tomato flavor texture was spot on. The acid sweetness balance was spot on. I would feed that to my family. As for the ones that I didn't like,
Prego.
It tasted, for lack of a better term, processed.
It doesn't have any balance.
It was overly sweet. I think it didn't have a good tomato flavor.
I don't want to feel just garlic or have acidity.
the Good and Gathered is just really weak ingredients, not thoughtfully put together. Seems like a product was just rushed out.
My least favorite today is Classico Marinara. You just feel acidity, garlic, onion. The tomato was not in the center.
So we tasted a lot of tomato sauces today, all in a day's work.
A lot of these sauces are actually a pretty good starting point.
Like add a little bit of the extra joy that you like, or salt, or basil.
Loosen it up with some pasta water and add lots of Parmesan or Reggiano cheese.
But making it fresh is always going to be better.
Good extra virgin olive oil, whole peeled tomatoes crushed by hand, pinch of salt. It's almost as easy as taking off the lid of a pre-made sauce and pouring it into a pot.
Enjoy your marinara. Buon appetito!